makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part.
Yesterday, June 21st, 2021, is a day that will live in infamy for right-wing YouTube. Yesterday, Steven Crowder made an absolute fool of himself against his intellectual nemesis, Sam Seder of The Majority Report. Steven Crowder, as I assume most of you will probably know, is probably the most famous and well-known right-wing YouTuber. He has something like 5.5 million subscribers to his YouTube channel, which is, I think, something like double the amount that Ben Shapiro has, or PragerU, or some of these other right-wing pundits. So it's a huge amount. He has a huge influence. Sam Seder is the host of The Majority Report, a long-running left-wing channel. He has something like 1 million followers, or subscribers to his channel, rather. And which by left-wing standards is I think he's in the top 5, I would guess. Top 5 leftist political YouTube channels. Right-wing YouTube channels tend to have much more subscribers than left-wing YouTube channels. That's a fact. So in comparative perspective, even though Crowder is well ahead of Sam Seder in absolute numbers, if you're on left-wing YouTube, you know who Sam Seder is. You know what The Majority Report is. He is a thing. He is not a non-entity that no one knows. So the context of this is that many years ago, Steven Crowder was scheduled to debate Sam Seder at a Politicon. I don't remember what year this was. This was definitely well before the pandemic. I think it was 2018 or 19. And at the last moment, Steven Crowder cowered out of debating Sam Seder. This from a man who basically made his fame by going into college campuses and setting up his, trans women are not women, change my mind. And he would put a desk with that big controversial theme, and he would get college students to sit down and debate him. Obviously, he would come very well prepared with all the talking points, and usually, not always. I've seen a couple of episodes, and I've seen a lot of really smart college kids make him look like an idiot. But it's edited in a way that it doesn't make him look bad, right? And in fact, it usually makes his opponents look bad, which is understandable. It's kids who don't have media experience, don't have training on how to handle difficult questions, obviously did not come prepared with the talking points. So the moment that Steven Crowder brings a talking point that they didn't come prepared with, they're gonna stumble and look like they lost. So these are basically just easy owns for Steven Crowder. But he never really debated anyone serious, and he passes himself off as someone who debates the left and owns the left in the marketplace of ideas. But when he had a chance to sit down with an actual well-versed, intelligent leftist, he made excuses. And anyway, it got to the point of ridicule, and it got to the point where a lot of actual right-wing celebrities went out and kind of made fun of Steven Crowder for not debating Sam Seder. And this is all the more shocking considering that Steven Crowder passes himself off as the stereotypical alpha male. He works out, he carries a holster for some reason on his show. I think he brings his gun in as well, because obviously he's a big Second Amendment defender, even though he's Canadian. But yeah, so all these celebrities came out and sort of made fun of him for not debating Sam Seder, and one of the more hilarious ones was Anthony Scaramucci, who, if you recall, was Trump's, was it his press secretary, something? I don't know. But Scaramucci basically made some fame for himself for being like the alpha. Well, clearly Trump was the alpha dog in the White House, but Scaramucci was sort of the next alpha, always with like these big pinstriped power suits. etc. So Scaramucci went out and called out Steven Crowder for being a coward, basically. And this got a hashtag at the time on Twitter trending, hashtag #ColdFeetCrowder. So before we get into this latest incident, I want to show this video because it's pretty hilarious. Scaramucci, by the way, does not look like an alpha male in this video at all, but it's still pretty funny.
Good morning and happy Sunday. This is a message for Cold Feet Crowder, and I got booked by Cinco Sanders. Okay, so listen up, Steven. Quit being a pussy and debate Sam. If you gotta ask Daddy for permission, it is what it is. I know Sam ain't no teenager, but you gotta man up and do the right thing. Don't be a hack and a coward, Crowder. Debate Sam. The alpha males. The alpha males are back.
That is ridiculous. Men are ridiculous.
Okay, you hear my wife? My wife just said men are ridiculous, okay? Man up. Man up and debate the guy, okay?
Okay, so that's the backstory. But what happened now was that last week, I believe, Steven Crowder, well, actually before last week, Steven Crowder had some exchanges with a guy called Ethan Klein, who is one of the hosts of an H3 podcast, which I had never heard of before, but apparently it's really big. It's not a politics show. It's mostly like sketch comedy and other stuff, but it also has millions of followers on YouTube. So he's quite a thing, right? And they had this exchange, and they agreed to have a debate. Now, Ethan Klein has admitted that he is not really a politically minded person. He's not a debater in any sense. So he had a little surprise. And let's watch what this surprise is. Because, this is the mother of surprises.
I'm really glad to have my next guest on the show, and I've always said this. I always respect people who enter into the arena. And we've had a lot of debates on this show, which is different from like a Change My Mind where we sit down and have conversation.
So he calls it the arena, because in this battle place of ideas, he's the alpha dog, clearly. And like I said, look at him, look at his style. His setup is basically like a sports bar, because that's where dude bros hang out. He carries his holster, which is utterly ridiculous. He works out. He's clearly trying way too hard. So, yeah.
But my old Brazilian jiu-jitsu coach always said, if you come switch, we go switch. You go spicy, we're going to do a little spicy. So we always try and keep it as respectful as possible. And I really do appreciate the guy making the time, because a lot of people has a huge YouTube channel, several YouTube channels, one of the OGs. Mm-hmm. A lot of people watch him. You know him. Some of you like him. Some of you don't. Same can be said for me. Ethan Klein from H3. Ethan, thanks, man, for making the time.
You're very welcome. And I just want to say, I know you called me. You said that I would be a layup.
I think I used something like that.
And I think you're right, because I don't think I'm a very good debater. I think you know that. So I didn't want to make it too easy for you.
Oh, okay.
So I've prepared.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So
Dan,
what we were going to talk about is the initial quote that happened. I think he's looking off there. The initial quote that kind of was turned into a little bit of a meme, which wasn't intentional. And
so note that Steven Crowder at this point starts to get a bit nervous. And I think at this point, in retrospective, he knows what's coming. And I'll explain later, because the whole setup of this was... So the incident itself is brilliant, but the setup, which I'll explain after the video, is just as brilliant. Like, this is the work of genius. So you can sense a certain nervousness.
Was you saying you don't even have to think about it regarding the CDC? And I disagree with that. I think people should think about it. I believe, and we talked about this through Playful Ribbing, in an aggregation of medical authorities and scientific voices to make an informed and rational decision. So where do you think that I'm wrong on that?
Steven, do you know that the Spartans are like practice man love with children?
Oh, geez. Okay, so this is what's going to happen. What did I tell you? He was going to do anything he could to avoid. Oh, there he is. Oh no, Sam Seder. What a fucking nightmare. I had no idea this was going to happen. I thought Ethan was a stand-up guy. This is where we are. Yeah, I told Dave. Remember I told you? I said I guarantee you he's going to do anything he can to avoid the debate.
Well, I just think he believes that he should debate you.
No, he doesn't. He just takes advantage of women with mental health issues. Ethan Klein doesn't stand up and do his own fighting.
I gotta say,
it's just hilarious. Let's bring on FM.
That you would do anything to avoid talking to me. I think the point that you made
at
the beginning of
Joe
this
Rogan.
Yeah, Joe Rogan and Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson and Noam Chomsky and Sam Harris. Everyone's been avoiding.
And not just attempting to get your audience by jumping in.
Well, I debated with Charlie Kirk. Stephen, I mean, it's about issues. Let's talk about those issues.
That's what you're doing here.
Valid points.
You're so clever. I had no idea that you were taking your show off early last time, coming in today with your pig pen peanuts on.
I wish every.
You take those off with a velveteen.
So at this point, Steven Crowder's brain is in full meltdown, like full Chernobyl reactor number 4 meltdown, because this is his greatest fear, literally his greatest fear as a professional commentator on YouTube. This is, and I'll explain why. Like I said, the whole setup of this at the end will explain why this was his greatest fear. This was what he was really trying to avoid at all cost, and it happens.
We must have been very worried about this, Stephen. I don't know why.
No one's worried about it.
So
Sam, I didn't want to do it.
Let's have a
Sam,
debate.
come on. I'll tell you what. I have a general.
This is a
rule.
great opportunity.
I don't start a debate based with people on a lie. And how about you get
sabotaging?
How about you get
Steven,
to
show yourself, you coward. Steven, show yourself. Don't show your co-host.
Ethan, you should show yourself.
And this is so unbelievably cowardly. Like, he's not even showing his face. Like, this, I can't really describe it. Like, if this was a school playground and he was the bully and he just refused to fight someone and just hid under the bleachers or something, imagine the ridicule. Like, you would never be able to you would have to get transferred to another school just out of the sheer degree of humiliation of what's going on here.
Ethan, how can you respect yourself as a man, brother?
Steven, you are such a coward. Stop showing your little leprechaun co-host who comes out dressed like your sidekick.
Come on, Ethan, why do you have to bring
Show Steven.
Why is the saddest thing I've ever heard? So you have a guy with less viewers to come on to debate him because you can't?
Well, obviously, if I'm a layup and not a debater.
Well, look, you're the one who called. You're the one who got
the one that got angry about it.
Show Steven. Don't be such a coward.
Let me hear what Pigpen has to say here really quick.
Fair enough.
But Ethan, look, I don't. Hold on a second, Ethan. This is because initially I came on here to talk with Ethan. Ethan, come on, man. Look, the same reason that I haven't ever had a conversation with Sam Seder is the same reason that Joe Rogan, Sam Harris, Brett Weinstein, Dave Rubin, Ben Shapiro don't own anything. It's based on a lie, Ethan. Just like you claiming my booker reached out to you, Ethan, when you know that's not true. There's no one ducking you, Sam.
I've never afraid.
Sam,
I think you're a smart guy.
I can call out Mike Tyson. It doesn't mean that I'm ducking him.
So worried about this.
Why do you feel that anyone, Sam? Why do you feel that anyone owes you airtime when you have a 40th of the audience and you've been doing the show?
I don't think anybody owes me airtime. I think that Ethan has just given it to me. I didn't ask him for it, and so
you've been begging for it for a long time with everyone bigger than yourself.
Why are you so worried about engaging with me?
And so what happens is he uploads 15 times more, has less than a 50th of the audience.
Well, that's why he wants to debate you.
So, the point that Crowder is constantly falling back on is the idea that, well, Sam Seder simply doesn't have the audience to debate him. And yet this is the guy who basically debates college kids who no one has ever heard of before. Just random college kids on a campus. That's what made him famous. So it's absolutely disingenuous to suggest that he only debates people who have, an X amount of subscribers or fame or Twitter followers, whatever. And like I said, obviously at the level that Steven Crowder is, at 5.5 million subs, there are very few people on the planet who have that level of social media, online media popularity. There's very few. And so inevitably anyone he speaks to will be less popular than he is. If he speaks to Ben, even on his side, right wingers, if he speaks to Ben Shapiro, that's someone who has half the engagement that Steven Crowder has. So it's incredibly cowardly, just absolutely cowardly.
So he can build his.
Do you think your audience cares that I only have 1 million subscribers and you have 6 or 7 million subscribers?
Let me answer. Can I answer your question? Can I answer your question? Do you want me to answer your question? My audience would say Sam who? Just like Joe Rogan's audience and Ben Shapiro's and Dave Rubin.
Again, his audience will not know who he debates on college campuses. In fact, also a lot of the people that he has had debates with on his show, most people will not know who they are. That's just ridiculous. That's never been the standard of who he engages with. He is absolutely simply terrified of debating Sam Seder.
I am. Now they all know who you are because you had to shoehorn yourself into another coward show.
College students, every day that you do that, change my mind.
Hold on a second.
They don't know who those college
students are. This is another lie. Let me clarify, Sam. To change my mind, everyone knows on the show, right?
Yes.
We've had
How did you know I ended my show early last week, Stephen? If your audience doesn't even know me,
because you're an idiot and half of your staff doesn't like you.
Because I'm a diehard fan.
Yes, it's because he's a diehard fan.
So that is the climax of this moment. He claims that Sam Seder is a nobody. Nobody watches his show. Well, clearly, you're not going to be paying attention to a nobody show, right? Yet somehow he knew, and he himself brought it up. He shot himself in the foot. Not even in the foot. Like, he shot himself in something way more valuable. He shot himself in the balls right there by basically admitting that he watches that show. And at the moment, I found this a bit strange because I thought, well, even then, it seems strange that he would, on the one day that Sam Seder, that the Majority Report began early, that he noticed. So either he watches it every single day, which I don't think he would do. So I thought this was strange. But then when the setup of this is explained later on, it makes perfect sense. But for the moment, just understand. He noticed. He was clearly watching the Majority Report. He knew that it ended early. And this completely destroys his idea that, Sam Seder's is a nobody show that he doesn't follow.
If you're
I've heard of you,
fan,
but I just met you.
Why not
Congratulations, Sam Seder's fan.
Stephen, have a conversation. I will talk about
every time I try and talk, you're interrupting, Sam.
Stephen.
Right now, I'm trying to talk with you. You're interrupting, Sam.
You bombarded the show.
Okay,
you bombarded my show under a false pretense. You claim just like you claimed that I ducked the debate with you under a false pretense. Have I ever?
That is what the Politicon people told me.
Oh, that's what they told you? So you're just lazy with your research?
And if big tech is,
you continue with the lie. You need to research and say, did Stephen ever accept?
They said you were.
Let me explain to you. Hey, whoa, Sam. And you literally Sam, sweetheart. Sam, fake stand-up comic who we can't find any footage about online. Let me finish.
I'm not a stand-up comic.
Oh, you're not? Okay, that makes sense because everything that I've seen is incredibly unfunny and unentertaining, which may explain the audience.
Irony alert, Stephen.
Comedian.
How much have you watched of my stuff, Stephen, that you think that your audience would appreciate our discussing things?
Samuel, can I answer your question?
Yes.
So you have gone on, you've done the same thing with other comments. Everyone has a bigger audience than you. Because you said, I want to speak with Steven Crowder. You believe that at some point there was some acceptance? When have I ever done a Politicon? Ever? As a matter of fact, in the last decade, I haven't done a single political conference. I hosted CPAC for 4 years and stopped because they suck. They don't pay and they're full of losers. And you've been clamoring for it, and it's a lie.
Told me that you dropped out of doing his show because
this is just hearsay and gossip. I've never met more of a woman.
Career when he wants to keep debating.
I don't know.
All right, let's talk about the issue.
So Ethan, do you want to have a conversation, Ethan?
About the vaccine? Because
Ethan, do you want to have a conversation? You're going to hide.
Absolutely, I do.
So why are you hiding behind Sam Seder?
Oh no, me and Sam are aligned. I'm not hiding. He just
well, you're just a liar. Because remember we said, hold on a second.
I mean, it sort of feels like you guys are the ones who are hiding.
Really? No. This is actually who snuck in on you? Who's the guy who never appears on stage, never does a live show,
but
never even allows a shadow of comedy to be perceived on his program? It's just hiding. Everything we do is out in the open. H3.
Steven, you're wearing a holster.
We agreed.
So what?
Hold on a second. Yeah. So
this is so cringe. So cringe. You can just cut his desperation with a knife. He basically at this point he needs to find a way to just he's stuck between the option of just leaving the conversation or actually dealing with the issues, having a debate on issues which he doesn't want to have. This is crazy.
I want to normalize responsible gun ownership. Is that your debate? No wonder you had to bring in a hack for you.
Well, no, you're talking about comedy.
Well, that's a debate strategy.
That's not very funny.
You have a holster, bro.
Also, your sponsor
of the takes advantage of mentally ill women for a show.
It's about gay boy love.
Okay.
All of it.
All right, Sam. You got it. You got it. I hope you have
No,
a wonderful highlight reel.
Hold on. Let me just make one point.
Hope you enjoy Politicon.
Hold on, let me make one point, Steven.
Take it easy.
Steven, don't bail.
I appreciate it.
Don't bail, you coward.
Hey, Sam, one thing before I go. Can you take off your glasses?
Hold on.
One thing before I go.
I
Can you
just
take
wanna
off your
see-
glasses?
we just wanna see if
I just want to see if you take them off, if you have the Velveteen Rabbit buttons. That's the only thing I'm curious about. It's the only interesting part about it.
Or if there's a soul.
Let's
Just
debate.
take off the glasses.
Let's debate, Steven.
Don't hide behind the glasses.
This is so random. Like you can tell at this point, he just he needs to find like some snappy comeback, but he can't find anything. And this is so cringe, so cringe. It's painful to watch. Well, it's painful, but I really enjoy it.
Don't say let's debate, Ethan. You've lost.
All right,
Debate
this
the
is
issues.
sad.
What does it matter who you
Shut
debate,
up.
coward?
All right, good. You guys are good. Thank you.
Coward.
Won't even take off the glasses.
I was right.
All right, yeah,
We
you
knew
can
you'd
do
run
the
away.
X. This
You
is-
run away twice. Cold feet again.
Come on, Steven.
Wow. Wow. Dude, I can't believe he admits to following.
He admitted that he followed the show last week.
We got him.
He admitted that he watched the show last week.
We got
He went
him.
early.
Dude, we played him so hard because he literally was following. He saw that you went live, dude. We fucking got him.
Oh my God, we fucking nailed him.
I've never seen Sam Seder that happy ever, like ever. It's crazy.
Holy shit. So do you want to respond to here? You want to throw him up, Dan? Do you want to respond to anything he said now that he's not talking over you?
So, I'm gonna link this video in the description if you want to watch the whole thing. But now I want to show the setup, because the setup makes this whole thing even more hilarious. Because at this point, like, when I saw this, I was not aware of the setup. I just assumed that this sort of happened at that moment. I mean, clearly there was some plan between Ethan Klein and Sam Seder to get him on the show, but there was something much deeper than this. And so later on his show, he explained, and this is, you have to watch this as well.
And so last week, you'll recall, last Monday, they were scheduled to have a debate at 1 p.m. Eastern, which is 10 a.m., I think it was, Pacific. And so you'll recall last week we started the show early. And here's where I need to make an apology to the audience. I implied that the reason why we were doing that was because I was recording the Bob's Burgers movie.
Hey, I would not say you implied it. In fact, you tweeted about it later. So.
Well, if you look at
It was
that
a white
tweet,
lie.
if you look at that tweet, Emma, I did not say.
Oh, the lawyering, Jesus.
Well, if you look at the tweet, bring it up. Can we bring this up, Brendan? Can you find it? On that tweet, I did not say I ended the show early because I am recording Hugo for Bob's Burgers for the movie. Instead, I tweeted, and Brendan, do you have this? Okay. It is, I tweeted, let me see if I can pull it up here on my own. I tweeted instead, sorry about the show being early, ending the show early today. However, the good news is I can tell you that I recorded that Hugo's on Bob's Burgers. Now, all of that is true. Yeah, here it is. Apologies for the early start today for Majority.fm. ... Second thought, happens to be unrelated.
Yeah.
But was in the same tweet. I can, however, happily report that Hugo will make a cameo in the Bob's Burgers movie. Now, the fact is that no, I had recorded that a couple days earlier. What? But why, Sam, would you tweet that? Well, we started the show early. We ended at 12:30 p.m., which was 30 minutes before the debate that
11
Crowder,
to 12:30.
Yeah,
if you guys remember.
That Crowder had planned with Ethan Klein on H3. And so we connect with H3 through Zoom, and like immediately after we're done with the show, and then 4 or 5 minutes later, they go, oh, we just got an email from Crowder's dad that Stephen had an emergency.
So for all his macho posturing, Steven Crowder, his agent, is his dad. That is a bit pathetic, if you ask me.
See, with his wife who's pregnant, and this is actually sort of disturbing.
We were concerned.
We were concerned, And I'm being serious about that, actually. And he can't do it. However, we will reschedule for next Monday at noon. And Ethan says they knew that you were getting off your show early, and they're afraid that you're going to be debating him. And I got to say that I was like,
come on, Ethan.
I don't think I said that to him because I was like, I didn't want to be, rude, but I was like, I'm not sure about that. Like, would he really pretend that his wife, who's pregnant with 2 kids, is in jeopardy? And would he really be monitoring when our show is off the air? That's absurd. That's absurd that he would do that. I mean,
that is fucking crazy. Like, that is an insane amount. Like, this literally, like, if this was, a schoolyard fight or something, this is like a kid skipping school for days on end because he doesn't want to fight the bully. In this case, clearly, Sam Seder is the intellectual bully. That is crazy. That is crazy.
How afraid would he have to be? How paranoid would he have to be that he's engaged with a debate with somebody else? Like, I'm just trying to put my mind in the same mind frame. Like, I've got a debate scheduled with Tim Pool, and I'm like, I'm going to monitor the show of Dave Rubin to see that he hasn't changed his live show, because what if Dave Rubin comes on when I thought I was going to debate Tim Pool?
I mean, that would probably be like the equivalent of Christmas for you.
That would be, yeah.
Or Hanukkah.
It would actually, I think it's actually, there's no
equivalent.
There's no equivalent. It would be
a birth of another child.
But I'm trying to put my head into that mind. Like, how afraid would I have to be that paranoid about it? And so I found it really hard to believe. But it was weird that, hey, we have an emergency. I mean, this is the grandfather of those kids. If I was that guy, I would be like, look, we have an emergency, can't get back to you. I wouldn't give the details, because why would I? And I'm like, it's an emergency, and I'll get back to you later in the week to reschedule. But no, they rescheduled it for 12 p.m. on Monday, Eastern, which is exactly when we go live.
That's so weird.
But I told this to other friends, friends who are not in this world, and they're like, dude, do you think that he's really that afraid of just, like, debating you? Like, it's not in person. It's not like you're some type of assassin. I said, even if I was, he carries a gun. He has a holster that he wears all the time with a gun.
It's his costume.
Yeah, I mean, his costume is ready to defend himself, too.
Normalizing it.
But I was like, but Ethan thought that, and he's a pretty savvy guy when it comes to, like, YouTube stuff and these guys.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, let's pre-tape the show. And I pre-taped the interview last week with Stephen Wertheim. Great interview.
Yeah. That's why I had to step out.
Yeah. Well, if people watched the show today, they noticed also that we were stretched. And that is because we're back in the studio and we haven't quite set up our system to do the show and to output it. And so we were just like, oh, fuck it, let's just run it. And so we pre-recorded the intro and the outro to make it for today at like 10:30.
You coordinated your shirts very effectively.
And Emma kept reminding me, and that's why I was like surprised.
I was like, make sure you wear the same shirt each time.
Yes. And then Matt was furiously trying to stitch it together so that we could turn it around in time. And we connected with Ethan's show, H3, via Zoom. And that's why I have in my logo in the left.
You're right.
Right there is a smiley face, because I wasn't sure how we were doing this. And I know that when we're bringing somebody onto our Zoom, you see their name first and their audio is connecting. And I'm like, just in case, Crowder. And let's go around the room right now. Brendan, I want you to participate in this. Well, wait a second. Let me just pull it up. And so we connect with Ethan, and he says, look, guys, Dan, our brilliant technology guy, has figured out, like, it's going to be Crowder's Zoom. So you're not going to come on to the Zoom. We're going to be able to just feed you in to the Zoom. And so we're sitting here. I think I shot like a video during it. We're just waiting and watching the IMs.
This is like the YouTube version of Mission Impossible. Like, I can almost see this being made into a movie. Wow. With
the ratio is messed up, and I'm like, yeah, people are going to be.
I can't wait to see the videos I took, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And so we're waiting for this, and I can see what's going on there, and then at one point they show Crowder's empty seat in his studio, and he's not coming on until 2 minutes after we launch our show. And we did it like a minute or two early, right? Yeah, we launched it around 11:58 just so that we could do this. And
yeah, the show actually started right on time today, which Crowder's people should have noticed something was up when that happened.
Well, I mean, that presumes that they were actually monitoring our show.
It does presume that.
It does presume that. Let me just we're going to end the story here, ladies and gentlemen. So I can tell you that I want, like, people can IM in what they think would happen. In fact, we should probably put up a poll. We should probably put up a poll. What did Crowder do?
Anyway, that was the setup, which was brilliant. And honestly, I mean, I really, if I was Sam Seder, I would not have imagined that Steven Crowder was that paranoid. It's crazy that he was. That he noticed things like, oh, the show ended a bit early and it's going to coincide with my debate with this other guy. And what if Sam Seder suddenly pops up? And that's the reason why, in retrospect, Steven Crowder seemed so nervous at the very beginning of the debate with Ethan Klein. And at the time I didn't understand why he was like that nervous, and you can tell now with all this that happened, he was absolutely terrified. His worst fear came true, and I think that is the great satisfaction of having seen this incident, this day of infamy, was that Steven Crowder's worst, imagine whatever your profession is, your worst fear coming true, your worst professional fear coming true. And that happened to Steven Crowder yesterday. And that is priceless. Like, that is going to go into the annals of YouTube political pundit history, because I don't think it's going to be in any way career ending for Steven Crowder, because I think his fans, and you know, I later saw some of the tweets, and his fans, this will not in any way tarnish their idols. I mean, all of this is just a cult, you know. But yeah, that's what happened, and I just want to show a few other things to kind of debunk the excuses that Steven Crowder gives on not debating people like Sam Seder or anyone else. I think. I mean, I think it would just be anyone with someone who already you kind of know has knowledge of general political issues is not the people that Steven Crowder will want to debate, because he's going to be made an idiot. He's going to look like a fool. He's going to be completely embarrassed. So this was a tweet that showed basically all the people that Steven Crowder has had on his show and the number of Twitter followers that they have. And you can tell that some of these figures are definitely like nowhere near Steven Crowder's. 100,000, 200,000. That's still pretty big, but definitely nothing like what he has. I don't know how many he has on Twitter, but look, I mean, less than 100K, 24K, 10K, 17K. So he brings these people on, and I saw fragments of his debate with Maria del Russo, and she was obviously debating on the feminist side and Crowder on the anti-feminist side. So he's clearly willing to have someone with 10K followers debate him on controversial issues. So why did he back out of? Why did he cower out of debating Sam Seder? And the other point that he makes is that this was a very disingenuous way of engaging, that he appeared unannounced, and this would be a valid argument were it not for the fact that Steven Crowder crashes other people's moments all the time. That's also a part of his thing, part of his supposed comedy act. And here's one where this is in the South by Southwest festival. He crashed a panel with Cenk Uygur, who's one of the hosts of the Young Turks, and this is what he does.
And by the way, it was built by our audience. We asked them when we switched over from TV to online, can you guys help us build this? and our audience gave us $425,000 to build it.
What's this bullshit? What's going on here? I thought we were going to have a reasonable discussion. That's not the real Jake. That's bullshit. I'm the real Jake over here. This is supposed to happen. I had the JW Marriott.
Okay, this is Stephen
This
Crowder.
guy, this isn't the real Jake. You think you're a man and it's not happening. It's bullshit. Anyway, you can come out and start the panel.
Okay, so this is
Okay.
This is not a friend of mine.
This is what he does, okay?
This is what he does.
He's doing an impression, and you know that's bullshit. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, right?
He basically
what he does
makes
right,
money.
is he makes money
by
and he lies, right? Like
riding my
he's he rides my dick. So I do this whole
So that's not the only incident. If you look at the right hand, the links on the right, there's so many. Undercover, crashing Hawaii socialist protest. Undercover, anti-free speech panel crashed by Stephen Crowder. Anti-Trump gay karaoke night crashed by Crowder. So this is SJW Fat Pride feminist panel crashed by Crowder. So that's part of his thing. And then he complains that someone else did exactly what he does. He just has no excuse. Just no excuse. Like, none of them are valid. I think what Sam Seder did was perfectly legit on the base. If he had done this against anyone else who doesn't resort to this kind of shit, even if it was like a detestable right-wing figure, you know, like Dave Rubin or some other, or Ben Shapiro, like, they don't, to their credit, they don't do this crap. You know, they don't try and pass themselves off as bad comedians and like sketch comedians and do this kind of performative, obnoxious crashing of other people, especially, you know, like LGBT groups, basically anyone who isn't white, male, cis, Trump fan type. They don't do that. If Sam Seder, for example, there's a lot of people who don't want to debate Sam Seder for those reasons. And, for example, Dave Rubin is one of them. I think Ben Shapiro also hasn't ever attempted to debate Sam Seder. If Sam Seder appeared randomly on one of their scheduled interviews with someone else, I would think, yeah, that is slightly sleazy. But, like I said, it is true that none of them owe Sam Seder an audience. But if you're the guy who does this kind of stuff, who crashes other people for lols, then it's fair game. I think everything that happened in that panel in that debate with H3 was perfectly legit on the basis of what Stephen Crowder does to others. Perfectly legit. And, you know, this is, just a really obnoxious guy. Absolutely detestable individual. I'm glad he got this happen to him. I'm so glad. And like I said, imagine your worst professional fear come true. That is exactly what happened to Stephen Crowder yesterday. And on that note, I will leave you with Stephen Crowder getting punched and beaten the shit out of by a union worker. Poor little snowflake. So, I hope you enjoyed it. And, I don't think we'll see a moment like this anytime soon. But it was so worth it. And if you like this video, please like, please share, please subscribe. More good content on the way. And don't subscribe to Stephen Crowder. Just please don't. If you already do, just unsubscribe. He is awful. He is a piece of fascist trash. So I'm glad that this happened. And may more days of infamy to the more obnoxious right-wing YouTubers. May more of these days come. Thanks for watching.